NES games are notoriously difficult, and one of your rewards for completing such a difficult challenge is of course the ending. Sometimes these live up to expectation, you feel good after completing a game. Other times they're just okay and you're kind of relieved. And then there's those endings that you question why you even bothered playing through the game in the first place. So without further ado, let's count down the 10 worst endings to NES games. The Capcom classic Ghosts and Goblins is one of the most notoriously difficult NES games. Completing the game one time through, you're sent back to the beginning and told you have to do it again, and doing so you'll be rewarded with the good ending to the game. Once you struggle and die countless amounts of times to finally get to face off with the evil menace and defeat him once and for all, you're rewarded with this. Misspelling English and a happy end. And then it tells you to go back to the very beginning and play the game again for more challenge. No, Ghosts and Goblins, I'm happy with my a happy end. It's time to move on. While every one of the Colored Dreams unlicensed games for NES are pretty bad and usually have a very bad ending to go along with them, there's a few that just stand out in particular that I had to mention in this countdown, the first being Baby Boomer, a game that could use the light gun or a controller in order to blast enemies and other hazards to guide a small baby through countless amounts of levels, including even traveling down to the depths of hell, and then finally you make it to your mother's baby carriage, only to find out that Baby Boomer is in the wrong carriage and it's not his mother who just saved him. It rewards you with also saying, hey, look out for the sequel, Baby Boomer 2, which of course never ended up happening. And I think we're all better off that it didn't. You wouldn't expect any kind of really good ending when it comes to completing an edutainment title. Your reward should be learning throughout the course of your playthrough experience. But when it came to Mario's Time Machine and Mario is Missing for the NES, and once you finally slogged your way through both of these awful edutainment titles that tricked many kids into checking them out just because they starred Mario, and then you're rewarded with this beautiful "You Win" screen. The only person on this screen that I can honestly relate to is Bowser, who is sobbing endlessly on the side of the screen. Bowser, I know. I feel bad that I beat this game too. How could I do a 10 worst NES endings without including Ghostbusters, notorious for its awful English ending and has been made fun of on countless amount of occasions. But the key for Ghostbusters is the fact that completing the game is a massive chore within itself. Trying to figure out how the game even works and how even to get into the Zool building at the end. Once inside, trying to traverse the staircase scene, which I feel is near impossible unless you have a turbo controller or end up glitching the game so you don't end up taking extra damage, or just flat out using a Game Genie to just make your way through it without a problem. You're then rewarded with a final battle against Gozer with an extremely clunky shooting mechanic, and then, of course, the congratulations screen. You have completed a great game. No, Ghostbusters, we haven't. Carnival is one of those interesting games, an arcade port, as well as the fact that Carnival was a boss in Bad Dudes, which Bad Dudes has one of the best endings, of course, of all time. The game itself actually isn't bad, with multiple different items and power-ups for Carnival to learn, plus the character himself is one of the weirdest to be a main starring role of any NES title. If you're able to complete it and defeat that final boss though, you're rewarded with this. Congratulations. That's it. That's all you're given. But what makes it worse is in the original Japanese version of the game, they actually had cutscenes, pictures, and more dialogue to go along with the game's ending. I have no idea why they decided to cut this from the American NES release of the game, and because of it, that's why Carnival ends up landing on this list. Honestly, this ending could be on the best and worst NES game endings because of just how ridiculous it is. Secret Stout and the Temple of Demise is another one of the Colored Dreams unlicensed games that suffers from all the same issues that all the other Colored Dreams games have. The game is extremely difficult to actually master the action and control, and if you're somehow able to find your way all the way through this, you're rewarded with this screen, which thankfully has more than just congratulations on it, but after you start reading it, you quickly realize, is this really the ending? You find out that Secret Stout is actually stuck inside of the cave that you've been exploring and cannot get out. And the game even says they're going to talk to your next of kin and thanks you for your service. You complete the game, one of the most difficult, annoying, unlicensed games for NES, and you find out your main character dies inside of the cave itself. Ridiculous. One last color green game for this list, and it's Silent Assault. Honestly, one of the few that I can actually stand playing more than once in a while. Silent Assault is like a discount bootleg Contra-esque game as you control a soldier blasting his way through all kinds of crazy backgrounds with colors that will make your eyes hurt. If you're able to finally get to the end though, you're given this. No text or anything, just 3 portraits with different colors on them, and then a statue or pile of stars that look a bit phallic. I still have no idea exactly what they were going for with this, but it's just one of the oddest endings I've ever seen and why it had to be on this list. 1942 is another Capcom arcade game ported over to NES, and a lot of times with these ports you're not really expecting all that much. Usually they end up looping back to the very beginning, so they don't even include an ending. But with this game being its relatively slow combat, not that it's necessarily bad, but I definitely like 1943 a lot better, if you're able to get through the game's 32 stages, you're rewarded with just a congratulations screen. Any game that ends with this, especially after trying to get through so many levels like 1942 has, it's just that final little kick that says you just wasted a whole lot of time. Speaking of a huge time waster, another arcade classic, Rampage, has 128 levels for you to take your giant lizard or ape through and destroy building after building, eating citizens and destroying army vehicles. Rampage is fun, especially in small doses, but if you have to sit there for 128 straight levels, your mind will probably start to go by the time you get to the end. And if you do beat it, after you finally destroy the last building in California and have destroyed the entire United States, congratulations is your only reward. It honestly should say, wow, we never thought anyone would see this. Before we get to number 1, let's look at a couple of honorable mentions. Strider is a great action game, and I actually highly recommend checking it out if you've never played it. There's multiple different versions of Strider for multiple home consoles, and they're all a bit different from one another, with the NES one in particular really standing out in my mind. The ending to the game, though, is one of these walking endings. Unfortunately, there are quite a few NES games where the ending is just the main character walking through various different scenes. But with Strider, it's just a perfect example of this and why I ended up including it. There's no rhyme or reason for why Strider is walking. He just walks off screen, and that's the end. No other explanation given. There are a lot of movie tie-in games for NES. In fact, I've even counted down the 10 worst in the past. But a lot of these end up also having bad endings to go along with them. Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, single screens with just a character and then some text below. But one of the ones I got to see as a kid after struggling for hours to finally complete the game and renting it multiple occasions was Karate Kid. If you're able to somehow slog your way through the game and deal with its terrible minigames, you're rewarded with Mr. Miyagi giving you a little bit of text, and that's it. And since this was one of the ones I actually got to see for myself when I was younger, it has always stuck out in my mind as a bad ending. While I love the Wizards and Warriors games, especially Iron Sword, they all have some pretty bad endings. The ending for Iron Sword in particular really stood out in my mind. You just complete the final boss, a really tough challenge to actually get through the game and complete it, and once you do, you're rewarded with just having your main character stand there, and it just says, "Thanks, Kuros." The 4 animal gods that you found along the way and interacted with are there, but it's the same exact picture they used earlier in the game, so really no effort felt like it was put into the ending, and just honestly makes you wonder why you bothered even trying to complete all the way through this game. When I decided to do this list, I already knew well ahead of time what my number 1 was going to be. Athena. This game is extremely difficult to actually master and be able to complete, with some really clunky action and terrible hit detection and just overall poor jumping mechanics to go along with everything else. If you're able to finally beat the final boss though, this is what happens. The screen changes a few colors, the background changes, and then nothing. No text. No animation. Nothing else happens after this. You can't even press start and go back to the beginning or anything like that. The game just freezes here. When I first beat Athena, I thought I broke the game. I thought something happened. I thought I got a bad ending. I thought this cannot be how this game actually ends. But no, this is the ending to Athena. And it's one of the most disappointing and one of the worst endings of all time. There is no excuse for not at least just saying the end at the top of the screen, or congratulations would have been perfectly fine. Just something other than freezing. So there you have it, the 10 worst NES game endings in my opinion. What is your least favorite NES ending, or ending in general for a game? What game did you try to beat and you fought and finally complete it and then were rewarded with an absolutely terrible or disappointing ending? Also be sure to comment what other countdowns you would like to see me do, whether they be retro, modern, or a series-specific countdown. But anyway guys, that will wrap up this video. I'd like to thank you for watching, and of course, I hope you enjoyed.